Meeting. Thank you, Sakani. So welcome to our today's alumni meeting, in which we want to talk about the Solar and Storage Live exhibition, which we still call Solar Show, which took place in March in Johannesburg. We actually have three panelists today. There is Daniel Haitzler, Managing Director from IBC. Armand Diedericks, Sales Manager at Victron, and the Wet Taljaard from SAPVIA, Technical Specialist. He will join a bit later. He's on his way back from Cape Town. I will be the moderator today. For those who don't know me, I'm Antje Klauss-Vorreiter, the CEO of Green Solar Academy. So usually Vivian is hosting that event. Jump in. I hope that I will replace her good enough. And we have Sakani. So she is helping us, assisting us, and she already had to go home to be able to host the complete event. And she will be our facilitator. When you have questions in the chat, Sakani will answer it. And she will also help us at the end of the event with a question and answer. The topic for today is the exhibition and actually a little recap for everyone what's there and could not go to all the halls, for everybody who could not make it, just to get a feedback from the experts. And we selected actually different people, like Daniel as a wholesaler, Armand as a manufacturer, and the Wet as the representative of the industry body. And I think it was overwhelming. So it was the first time that we had 3 halls. We had more than 18,000 participants, and they came from all over, let's say, kind of all over Africa and Europe. Very interesting to see that under the top 10, even we had participants in Europe from the UK and Germany. And of course, most of the participants came from South Africa. I have to start with some technical information. So we have the question and answer session at the end. Whenever you want to pop in a question, you can write in the chat. So it's only the panelists who will speak, and Sakani will read out the questions at the end. We have a little poll, which Sakani will share with you now that we know a little bit who is attending, what is your background. And we will share the recording with you. At the end, you will get an email. Everybody who is attending will get an email, but it will also be available on our website. So if you want to share it with colleagues afterwards, so it can be found on our website. Before we start, I want to use the opportunity to just give you a little update of the latest developments. Now I messed it up. Sorry. Of our courses, and sorry, I'm not so familiar with Zoom. It should not happen, huh? Okay. Here it is. For those who came to the exhibition know that we have 2 new courses. One is the Solar Compass. It's especially for everybody who works in the surrounding of the PV industry. So like banks, municipalities. It's just a 1-day course where we give you an introduction in what solar is about to make intelligent, educated decisions if you want to invest in solar. And the Solar Business Management course, which is a 2-day course where we teach young entrepreneurs, young not from the age, but young from the just open to business, what it entails to work in the PV industry. So business registrations, so what are the standards, so how to develop a project management, and so on. And something so we are so proud of, so that we finally also have the possibility to pay online, and so that it's also possible to pay in installments. So a lot of people requested that from us, but we are using an international tool to manage our courses, and they do not have a lot of customers in South Africa. So therefore we had to develop a special plugin to make that possible, and it's finally available. And so just insight in our next courses. So we have Super Solar Schools in May, SAPVIA PV assessment in April in Cape Town, and our advanced courses, the compliance for PV system, is coming up on the 30th of April in Joburg and 11th and 13th of June in Cape Town. Good. So let's jump in discussion. Our first topic is, just give us an insight. What moved the industry at the show, and what was the move? I want to start with Daniel. So, Daniel, what moved the industry at the solar show this year? So, from your point of view, and what you saw at your booth.
I think 2024 we've definitely seen a strong move into commercial storage applications. I mean, as you just said, the show is called Solar and Storage now. It used to be called only the Solar Show Africa. So we can see that the market starts to adapt not only sustainable solar PV solutions, but also kind of moves into storage space. And while a storage, a battery product used to be a solution that was mainly catered for residential applications, size-wise, also finance-wise, financial viability-wise, this trend now diverts slowly into commercial applications as well. And from my point of view, what I experienced by walking on the show, this was definitely the strong focus this year.
And so you already said it was quite different to the last year. So, but also from the people who came to your booth and from the discussion. So what was like the main difference between this year and last year?
So as said, basically there is a high interest for commercial storage solutions, and the residential space operates mostly in kind of hybrid inverter environment, where you would have certain hybrid inverters, or you also work with Victron. Armand is from Victron as a solution. And when it comes to commercial storage, you would kind of couple these low volt inverters, the hybrids, or ideally also the Victron inverter chargers, then in a kind of a parallel array with a number of batteries. In the commercial storage technology, when it goes up to 2, 3, 4, 500 kilowatt hours, or even to megawatt hours, new solutions coming up in the market now for the commercial space, that would be a high voltage inverter. That can be kind of hybrid solutions in a hybrid environment as well, up to 150, maybe 200 kilowatt peak, and then 200 kilowatt basically also charge and discharge for the battery, which wasn't there like that in the past. And what also is introduced into the market are so-called PCS solutions, power conversion systems that can provide battery storage systems with a charge and discharge capacity up to a megawatt at one given time, charge and discharge. And solutions like that were not available in the past. And these solutions make a solar and storage application, first of all, more efficient, but also a bigger storage solution more financially viable. And this was the focus of interest in 2024. After last year, the market was was very driven by residential demand in the country.
Yeah. So Armand, did you also see that it went in that direction, or did you? So
Yeah, no, definitely. So obviously the show was great and great show, bigger venue, more people. It was, well, the alleys were larger, so you can discuss more as well. It wasn't clocked up. So, but yeah, definitely the focus is more on certain products and yeah, more commercial, industrial wise. So where we were focused on low voltage and still focused on low voltage products, well, they want to add up to higher units and use AC coupled systems. So the focus definitely shifted to commercial industrial for now. I think the market will change in Q3, Q4 for residential side, but yeah, the bigger focus at this certain point is more commercial and industrial.
yeah, I saw that your booths were always quite full, and you also had a lot of you had a big team at the booth, and
Yes.
so
Right.
how did you manage that? I
So
mean,
yeah, we're thankful for authorized installers and multiple distributors that came and assist us. Obviously, IBC is also a distributor, one of our top distributors. So they came and assist, and obviously with the flock of people needing information and want to discuss certain installations and certain designs, it was good to have the authorized installers to get the knowledge across, especially to focus on the new multi-RS unit, which is residential. With a built-in MPPT, and yeah, focus on the AC coupled systems. Not a lot of people know that you can parallel the system and connect the grid tower system to the output to generate more power. So yeah, it was very good. Our booth was very full with the new products coming up as well, to get the information with the new GX devices and the software. So it was quite interesting, and the answers that we got was quite interesting.
but you also said there were, I mean, that there were a lot of discussions about regulations. So what was all
Yes.
that about?
So the regulations becoming more strict, which is a good thing because it factors out everything goes according to SANS and the NERSA regulation, which is good. Good to also say that all the Victron systems are also NRS, well, all the inverters are also NRS approved. So the regulations are changing, and all the people and installers, AIA is also more focused on the installers, ensuring that the installations are done compliantly. So, which is a good thing. Yeah, and it keeps the system going for a much longer period of time. Yeah.
Devet, thanks. Devet, are you finally here? Could you make it?
Hi, Antje, and good evening, everyone. My timing's flying back from Cape Town this afternoon means that I'm taking the webinar in the car. So apologies for any background noise or anything like that, but I'm here and ready to answer any questions and also to give an industry view of the solar show. So happy to be here.
Thank you. Speaking about regulations, I mean, I also saw that you had a presentation at the Installers University so about the PV Green Card. So can you, I mean, what did you have a lot of discussions about NRS and the PV Green Card at the exhibition? So can you contribute to what Armand said just now?
No, thanks, Antje. I think the current situation in the residential installation market is that there is uncertainty around the role of the NRS Association, the recommendations that recently came out of the NRS Technical Committee and the AMEU around the professional sign-off. I think there are differing views and different opinions from a few different sectors of the residential installation. So if you listen to some of the municipalities, or if you listen to the Electrical Contractors Association, there are different views around the role of the NRS and those recommendations that they can put forward for municipalities to adopt. That was one of the questions that was raised at the Installer University presentation that I did around the PV Green Card program and some of the changes that we are trying to make to the PV Green Card program from a SAPVIA point of view, in terms of some of the compliance monitoring that we're bringing in, the quality assurance aspects, and really to go out to the market try and challenge some of those held beliefs around the PV Green Card program. I think the change in attitude from the industry has been positive around some of the changes that we are trying to make in the PV Green Card program that we call the PV Green Card 2.0. It is pretty much a reboot of the PV Green Card program. And I think it will take time for some of those entrenched beliefs and maybe some of the preconceived ideas around the PV Green Card program to start changing. But we are seeing positive changes in that direction. And at least from a SAPVIA point of view, we feel that we're putting the PV Green Card program on a much more sustainable route. And we are firmly placing the PV Green Card program within the auspices of the regulatory environment. So clearly define the role of the PV Green Card program within the confines of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, the electrical installation regulations, and then the standards framework. So that was a really key message for us to get across.
Thank you. Yeah, I also had a discussion. I mean, I also had a speech on the PV Green Card and also how one can use it to grow the company. And it was also very well received. So is there, I mean, for Daniel, Armand, so was that topic, I mean, regulations, training, experience of the installers, is that something what was discussed at the exhibition, or is it what status it has for your companies?
So it was not a big topic on our side during the show. Nevertheless, of course, it's very important for us that any applications we sell in a grid-tied environment are NIS approved. And we always really try to align the portfolio, to offer the portfolio. Sometimes also things are in a kind of an application process, and even if they are not approved, it's then a matter of time. Overall, but that's important. I mean, at the end, the whole idea of these regulations and approval is to make the technology safe. With the Green Card program, also to award installers that produce and install a certain quality, which is always important, and also where Green Solar Academy strives to and clearly stands for. But at the same time, also make sure that it doesn't block the progress of the industry. And I think that's always a difficult challenge, and walking on the edge. Safe and 100% quality at the same time, while you also need new skills and new people on board, which need to be educated and need to be brought in. And there, if you have the right products, if you sell the right products and they are safe, they are NIS approved, and you undergo trainings and also approval processes and exams like the Green Solar Academy and also the SAPVIA Green Card, that's the right way to go. Because it must be our common target that the industry keeps striving forward in all spaces, no matter if it's residential or commercial.
Thanks. Armand, do you have to add something? If not,
I think Daniel covered everything. So if you focus on the right product and you install it correctly according to regulation and you get all the experience, it's beneficial for both parties.
Which brings us to the topic technology and technology trends. And so we saw that you at the Victron booth presented the new multi-RS 6000 at the show. So
yes.
How was it received, and for which market segment you developed it, or why are you coming up with that new inverter?
So the multi-RS 6000. So obviously we've got the multi 2, the Quattro multi plus 2 5 kilowatt, and the Quattro 2 as well, with the old Quattro and the old multi. But the 6000 is ideal for residential with a built-in MPPT 450 100. So it's a dual tracker device, and it's got a DC switch built in. We're currently undergoing all the various tests for NRS approval, so we'll receive it soon. And it's ideal for low cost, for housing, and it's a low cost unit. The only unit that you need to monitor it is the GX device. So I think it's going to take the market by storm. Obviously, with the first shipment came in, it was sold very quickly. There currently isn't any stock in SA, but the shipment's on its way almost. So yeah, it's a good unit for the residential market as such.
So there is still a residential market.
There is. Obviously, it's due to various factors, election coming up, so uncertainty in the in SA region. So hopefully it changes after the election, but I'm sure that it will start picking up.
Yeah, Daniel, you also had, I mean, how do you see that the whole residential market? And so
Yeah, similar. At the end, we have seen a massive boom last year. That's for sure. And of course, this is also development which is very challenging to repeat it. Last year, when load shedding intensified, power prices sort of keep going up. It started to become a kind of a no-brainer to really install your solar and your storage solution at home. And people who had the ability for it, also the cash ability, of course, they went through that 2023. So, of course, after this massive boom, I wouldn't say that the market is saturated, but we're certainly seeing a slower growth in the residential market this year. And a certain consolidation, like Armand said, with the uncertainty regarding the elections, with the reduced load shedding at the moment. Nevertheless, what is important for me, and also what we always try to preach to our installers, that a solar solution should never only be about load shedding. It should be, first of all, of course, about sustainable energy production, not buying the expensive and dirty power from Eskom at the end of the day. And then it should also become, and it can become, a payback case there, that if you install your solar solution correctly, if you look at the efficiency possibilities you also have in your residential property with geysers, with LED lights, with all kinds of these solutions, you actually can kind of transfer your home into a sustainable environment, and at the same time get to a point where your solar system pays back itself over 6, 7, 8 or 10 years. And this is always the approach which I think we should follow beside the load shedding, not basically hoping for the failure of Eskom, which is certainly there, but at the same time really offering these solutions as, first of all, a sustainable way to go, and secondly also that there is a business and a payback case with it. And there certainly is, no matter if it's only residential or commercial. There's no doubt. And even if there's no load shedding, the power prices will still go up by at least 10% every year. So basically, there is no better time to invest than now.
yeah, that's also, yeah. Armand, did you want to add something?
Yeah, so I think adding to Daniel, it's a broader focus just to reduce load shedding. So if you focus on the system, especially with the Victron products, on the GX device, you can actually monitor everything, and I think a lot of people is unaware of it. With the GX device, you can monitor your total water flow, you can monitor your sensors. It's actually, you can program the GX device in an API and have a whole home automation system. So to become more sustainable, see what total water usage you have, the total energy usage you have, and then obviously we've got the EV chargers with the new EV ranges coming up, Volvo, Toyota, BMW. So there's a lot of EV cars coming up, and with the Victron EV charger, you can connect it to the output of the system and charge your car, and during daytime you can drive with it. So, which is ideal to be more sustainable and follow the just energy transition.
Yeah, so we are really growing. It's not only that the exhibition is growing, also the complete mindset goes more in that just energy transition, energy management. And I saw that, Daniel, you even had representatives from Meteor Control at your booth. So what is this tool about? So maybe you can tell us a bit more.
So Meteor Control in general is an inverter agnostic monitoring systems originally for big solar PV plants, so commercial industrial sector, even for utility scale, which is very common to be already used in Europe, where there are many energy providers, many inverter providers for commercial PV solutions. And with that software, you can monitor your commercial PV plant, no matter what kind of inverter brands you use. If you use SMA, Fronius, Goodwe, Sungrow, Huawei, whatever brand you generally use, Meteor Control enables a monitoring in one platform independent from the inverter product. So you don't have to look around in various portals. This platform now also, or the company Meteor Control starts to develop more and more solutions for Africa, where kind of existing PV plants will be added on with storage solutions as time goes by. Or storage solutions will be installed together with PV plants. And often this cannot be done by one inverter environment yet. So even if the companies are Huawei or Sungrow, they might not have the perfect solution for PV plus storage in a commercial environment. Or there is an existing PV plant where you would integrate a generator with your PV application, which there also you need a management system like a fuel safe controller that would add them on. And with Meteor Control, all of these things are possible to do. What we've already done, we supported 5 clients who integrated a generator with the existing PV application managed by Meteor Control. And the next step of evolution of their software is going to be the HEMS portal, hybrid energy management software, which then makes it possible to also really show and control big commercial PV plants with big commercial storage solutions. And then you're able to really monitor and control these systems, like controlling your state of charge of the battery, see how the system perform, managing your loads, charge and discharge capacities, generator integration, all these kind of things. But of course, we are hoping for Victron also to come up with a solution there in the future, because it's a common knowledge that Victron certainly is arguably the best energy management the world has to offer still at the end of the day, with the VRM, with what Armand said, the remote console. So when Victron, and I'm sure there will be also solutions offered by Victron, comes with kind of high voltage commercial environment solutions, then it will be certainly highly sought after on the market, because there the energy management will be then an integrated portal, which is a big USP in the market then.
Maybe, Armand, you can add to that, but before that, I would ask you, Daniel, so for which size, system size, you would recommend Meteor Control?
I think generally anything 200 kilowatt peak up.
Okay.
And then, of course, for an installer or EPC who starts running various plants, meaning more than 10, 20, 30 plants, probably also eventually with different inverters. And usually that installer or EPC would also offer operation and maintenance with the plant, and O&M is perfect to be done with a software like Meteor Control. So 200 kilowatt peak, and then really a number of plants which you manage in an O&M environment, and it's the right solution for you.
Yeah, so the advantage is that you have one software tool, one portal to manage. You don't have to switch between Safari, Chrome. You just have one.
Yes. And of course, then in addition, if you have a PV plant with an inverter brand X, and you might have a commercial storage PCS solution with an inverter brand Y, and eventually a generator completely other brand, sort of bringing all these components together and showing the energy management, their Meteor Control can provide the right solution as well.
Very interesting. Armand, what do you have to add?
Yeah, sorry, we are busy with it. Obviously, we with the GX device, we will focus on our brand as such. We do monitor grid tie inverters, PV inverters connected to the output, and monitor third-party batteries that complies to our VECAN protocol. So there is a list of all the batteries, third-party monitoring batteries, lithium batteries that we do monitor itself, BYD, Solar MD, there's a whole list of it. So yeah, we are busy. There's a lot of applications on our VRM, but it's exactly the same as Daniel said. So, but yeah, there's a lot of exciting things with the better firmware coming up as well. So with Solar Forecast, which is already out, and I like the fact that Daniel focused on O&M as well, because there's not a lot of installers focusing on O&M and SLA, service level agreements. So I think that's going to be a good trend on installers and EPCs focusing on having a contract, an O&M contract, and a SLA contract on a 5-year or 3-year contract on the existing installs. So, and with the monitoring systems that or the monitoring, you're just as good as your monitoring. So if you on the platform, you can see the PV production, you can see your battery cycles, you can see all the information that you can download the files and generate a complete report and provide it to the end client.
Yeah. The vet, I think you walked around. I would guess you met a lot of your member companies. So what trends did you get from them? So on the market segment, on technologies. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Antje. So I definitely had comfortable shoes on, and I definitely got the steps in for the 2 days
Second day
that
only. The vet, only the
Yeah.
second day you had the comfortable shoes.
Comfortable shoes. Yeah, so I think that is part of the beauty of the show, is it brings all of these companies together and people that we don't get to see that often and get to see in person that often. I think the thing that struck me was the size of the show compared to previous years. And I think the other really important aspect is at the number of new equipment manufacturers that are looking at the South African market. And we see that in some of the other work that we do as an association. We're getting a lot of interest from foreign companies who are looking at the South African PV market for growth across all the market segments. So that's residential, commercial and industrial, and utility scale. And if you take all of that together, the estimates for this year place South Africa as the 10th largest solar PV market in the world, with an estimated 4.2 to 4.5 gigawatts of solar PV to be installed this year. Obviously, that's across all the market segments. And what that really does point to is that there will be a lot more competition around equipment suppliers. A lot of the sort of tier 1 international equipment suppliers are looking at South Africa to enter the market, but to enter it in a more sustainable way. So not only to bring products into the market, but also to have dedicated service centers and dedicated support, both hardware and software, in country. I think also what is important to note, and for the installers out there to understand, is with all the new equipment coming in, it's really important that you do your research around where the equipment comes from, how it's designed, sort of how the systems are put together, how they interact with existing equipment that's already in country and established. And I think it is really important to make a judgment call on the equipment that you select based on a few different factors. So look at the track record, the international track record of the equipment. Look at how serious the company is with their local presence and local support, and also look at the distributor network throughout the country. So that is absolutely one thing that says, with the growth of new equipment supplies coming into the country, it is really important that installers have a range of factors that they use to decide which equipment they go for. And I really like the fact that was mentioned earlier around the operations and maintenance and asset management aspect coming into these contracts. What we are seeing as an industry association, the drivers in the residential market, unfortunately, are directly linked to the frequency and intensity of load shedding. So if your business is primarily built around the residential market, you have to understand the impact that load shedding has on the demand, and you need to find ways of diversifying your revenue outside of pure new installations. So service level agreements, operations and maintenance, asset management, annual inspections and the like is something that you can add to your offering that's outside of new installations, and you can insulate yourself from that variability in demand that we're seeing.
So we discussed also, I mean, if you see, I mean, most so our alumni attending this event. And so usually they come to the Super Solar School, then they start in the residential market, and after a few years, then they go into the C&I market. But so what we could see also from the participants at the exhibition, so we had only 20% installers. So the rest were manufacturers, wholesalers, and people like customers, consultants, and EPCs. So like more than one fourth of the participants came from that pure CNI sector. So what would you, I mean, what can all of you, but maybe we start with you, Yvette, because you are representing the industry as a whole. So what is the difference between the C&I and the residential sector, and what do you recommend an installer? So what is important when you want to go in that market, and what is important to grow in that market?
So thanks for the question, Antje. I think it's a brilliant question, and this is a topic that's close to my heart because that's where I came from the C&I sector, project engineering, project management. So I think the biggest difference between even larger and complex residential systems as opposed to commercial and industrial is the fact that you are operating as a risk-taking entity. When you start operating as an EPC with service level agreements and performance guarantees in the future, you need to understand the risk that you're carrying, both from a construction point of view and from an operations and maintenance point of view. So it's really important that you understand the risk that you are putting yourself and your team, your installation team under. And I think it's really important to understand the regulatory environment that you are stepping into. So you need to have a really strong understanding and grasp of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, but both the electrical installation regulations and the construction regulations, and how you fit in there as a principal contractor or how you fit in there as a subcontractor, perhaps under a main contractor, and the roles and responsibilities that you have when you move into that market segment. The other point is that the amount of capital involved in these projects is a lot larger. So you are opening yourself up to much larger sums, and you need to be able to sustain that from both a cash flow point of view, but also from a capital point of view. So I think those are the biggest differences. And as you shift up the equipment sizing and as your system sizes become bigger, the complexities of the systems also increase. So you really need to take your in-house engineering or your consulting engineering part of the project very seriously, understand how you design and install and really look at it from a system-wide perspective. So both from an equipment selection, but also from a system design perspective, and really understand where you are exposing yourself to risks, both on the construction side and then moving through to the operations and asset management, but also understand where your client or your financier or whoever is involved in that project, the risks that you're opening yourself up to, and really try and mitigate those risks. And the final point is really just to understand the risks and try and place those risks either from a contractual point of view or whichever method you choose. Try and place that risk with the entity that is best geared to deal with it. So when you are installing, for an example, when you're installing on a large warehouse, understand the role that the civil engineer and the structural sign-off takes, and how you mitigate yourself from that risk, but also how you protect your client, your off-taker in future. So it's really understanding the risks and understanding what you're opening yourself up to before you move into that market.
Thanks. Daniel, do we want to add something? I mean, I would guess that you saw a lot of your clients, a lot of your installers growing from the residential to the C&I market. So.
Yeah, generally, I cannot agree more. It's fully correct. Maybe to add on what Yvette said on the portfolio and decision about the brands you make and the products which come into the country. So the best way to make sure is just buying from IBC Solar, because all these portfolio checks we've already done. So what we offer in the portfolio is vetted, is checked, works, and has been proven technologies in the past. And when it comes to design and installation, as I said, I could not agree more to that. It's very important to realize that responsibility, that you install a kind of a small or maybe bigger power plant for an end customer, no matter if it's residential or commercial. And the bigger those systems become, and the more also battery technology there's going to be add on, the more complex it is, the more responsibility, and also the more risk. So it's important to offer good, or to work with good design tools, to really check the regulatory environment, to register your systems, to use proven products, and yeah, we are very happy to assist in these kind of decisions. As you know, IBC even offers a own in-house PV manager called PV Manager Design Software, where you can design your solar system. It can be still optimized for batteries, but when it comes to rooftop system design, it's a perfect way to go with mounting points and single line diagrams and all these things you really have to consider, yield calculations when you install your PV plants. Because what you want to have at the end is a happy customers, and you want to make sure that your follow-up business with an O&M contract and a service level agreement with the end customer doesn't become a burden, but an additional profit source. And the way to ensure this is doing it right from the beginning, because then this is a real pleasure to do O&M, because it's more income than it's work. And yeah, so perfect approach.
I just wanted to ask if you support your clients, but you already answered that question.
Yes, yes.
And Armand, how you do? I mean, how is it at Victron? I mean, you sell mainly by the distributors, but all the installers, is there a support they get from Victron, or is there also a support like a that they work together, or that they
Yeah, so there's multiple groups. So if you're a Victron authorized installer, there's a group where they assist one another, which is quite good. They work together to reach the common goal. But on our side, we assist the distributor, and they need to work through the correct channel. So if there's a problem with any kind of install or any kind of equipment, then they follow the channel through the distributor, and we assist the distributor. Yes. So yeah, but yeah, I think to add to Daniel and the Vet's scenario, if you design well, irrespective if you design a residential site, you need to have an SLD, you need to have a yield warranty, and design the system according to the regulation. And especially if you move over to the C&I market, ensure that you've got all the induction, the medicals, all the equipment correctors. It's a big difference between the two. So, but if everything is aligned what they said and you design it according to engineering designing, you won't have a problem at all.
Yeah. And I mean, we have the PV business management course, which would help you to grow the business, and the designer course where we teach really the planning, from planning to handover from A to Z. So we have to come to the last point, which is kind of a little bit the outlook, where we see or where the market will go. And I would like to start with the vets. So as you were not exhibiting, you used the show to meet member companies. So what are the main conclusions regarding the market development for next year? This year, next year. So like for the next period between the shows.
Yeah, I think the emphasis on storage, specifically in the C&I market, is going to be a really big aspect in South Africa moving forward. Some of the feedback that we're getting from our commercial banking members is that upwards of 85% of their C&I projects have a battery energy storage component. So that is both new build projects and existing solar PV projects with battery energy storage being added onto that existing system. And the drivers behind that has been the frequency and intensity of load shedding. But for C&I clients, the additional benefits of adding battery energy storage is driving them to take up those sorts of systems. You know, what you can do around tariff shifting, peak demand management, not quite tariff arbitrage yet, but there are fringe benefits that you have with the battery energy storage system, as opposed to just the pure sort of operational continuity that you get, the load shedding resilience. So that is a really important aspect in the market where we see growth. The second aspect is more on the large scale wheeling specific projects. From the data that we're analyzing, it's upwards of 85 to 90% of all larger scale projects. So projects 10 megawatts and larger are designed purely for wheeling applications. So that means off-site generation, off-site consumption, and using the transmission and distribution networks to either move that energy across or to do accounting if you are part of that group that think of wheeling as purely an accounting function. But fundamentally, it is the shift from the industry side really to shift into large scale off-site generation. On the residential side, I think the pure driving force of load shedding is going to diminish this year, especially if we have sustained periods where we don't have such intense bouts of load shedding. But then it is really to understand what are the other drivers, what else is available to an installation company to drive sales in the residential market. And I think some of the work being done on the municipal capacitation side, that more municipalities are understanding the positive benefits for feed in. We see examples in the Western Cape of online approvals, structures being put in place to streamline the approval process and really to incentivize clients to register their systems, and also to open up ways where clients can not just earn a credit, but physically earn cash money in the bank for the energy that they feed back into the network. And once the real load shedding drivers have diminished, those will be the next drivers of residential demand specifically. And then it's understanding how that feeds into your business and how you can bring those aspects into your sales offering and bring that as part of your solution. So I think the fundamental drivers in the residential market will change in this year. That's if the Eskom coal-fired power stations don't suffer really bad performance this winter. We'll wait and see. But then commercial and industrial storage is a really big focus of the market.
Thank you. Daniel, anything to add from your side?
Generally, it's exactly what I also think. And on the load shedding, I would agree. I wouldn't just really build the business on that. I think we all said that earlier. We really agreed on this point. I just recently even read an article from Chris Yelland, who's quite famous kind of industry influencer, journalist in the environment. And so he even mentioned, it's too early to tell, but he even mentioned that the current reduction of load shedding free period we have here, the longest one for I think 1.5 years or almost 2 years, is even due because there's less demand. And there is less demand because there is already quite a lot of solar, there is a lot of storage, there is also a trend to more energy efficiency. So actually people do use less power. So Eskom needs to produce less power, and if there's less demand, then there's less load shedding. And as I said, way too early to tell. We'll see what happens, like the vet said, in winter after the elections. But I really hope, and I'm very confident that the trend continues, that the people still keep going for sustainable energy production and storage solutions, not just as a backup, but as a driver for the business, for also looking at saving models, like the vet said, with arbitrage, peak shaving, self-consumption optimization, also in the residential sector. And I mean, this train has now departed and it's going into the right direction. I don't think anybody would stop it. And what not only South Africa has realized is that solar used to be a kind of an exotic niche product for a few crazy guys 10 years ago. Still, now I think the whole world has clearly realized that this is going to be the major source for the future energy supply. At the end of the day, there's no way around it. It has become a mass market industry. I mean, we as a distributor, we used to face competition with other distributors. Now we face competition even with big corporates who used to be maybe a bit of electrical wholesale, a bit of that. Everybody offers solar products now. And they actually see that this market moves from a niche environment into mass market industry. And overall, this is a really good development for all of us, because the whole world has realized that this is the way to power the earth in the future, at the end of the day.
Definitely. I just want to do not stop our discussion before we speak about electric vehicles. So, I mean, you mentioned it earlier, Armand. So you had your charging device at the booth. So, I mean, this is still a niche market, I would say, in South Africa, electric mobility. So, but what do you foresee for this segment, and why did you display it at the exhibition? What feedback did you get?
Yeah, so I think everybody is going to start focusing on the EV charge, especially with the cost on diesel and fuel at the current moment. So the more cars coming out on different brands are all focusing on EV charging or EV cars, especially with the CO2 reduction movement, the just energy transition, as we previously said. So I think it's going to be a niche market to move most of them to an EV car. And ideal for Victron as well, because we've got two EV cars, the normal EV not EV cars, EV chargers, normal EV charger, and the EV NS range, which displays no screen range. So I think definitely it's going to become a more and more trend to gain more population onto the EV side. And especially with the garages, most of the garages, if you drive all over SA, they're starting to put up more EV chargers. So there'll definitely be a bigger movement in the near future onto the EV cars.
Yeah, obviously they also install the solar system so that it will be a real just energy.
They need to install a solar system, because it's going to reduce your total power cost. So, and what Daniel and them said, Daniel and the vet, the total cost that we currently pay for per unit at Eskom, it's quite low, and the increase getting approved through NERSA, it's going to be increased quite each year. So it's not just going to be for load shedding, it's going to become to reduce the total power consumption. But to see the outlook, I would like to see the statistics on how many mines and smelters and everything slows down and would start up if there's sufficient power.
This will continue to be an interesting journey. Sakani, what questions do we have from the audience? So we have still a few more minutes to answer them.
Yes, we have 6 questions in total. Or let me say 5. Okay, the first question is, which were the main suppliers that exhibited in the commercial or storage/solar? I'm guessing Attes and Megarov Revo. Anyone else that is worth mentioning?
Who wants to take that question?
I think Daniel will be the best fit to answer that question.
Yeah, generally I can answer that. I mean, first of all, also Victron supplies commercial solutions in a certain range. For the moment, this is still a low volt environment, but at the end, 5 or 8 or 9 quattros also make up already over 100 kVA of charge and discharge power. So we shouldn't leave Victron out of the game there on top, even though this is the more traditional low volt approach. At the same time, we clearly see that the big inverter manufacturers have presented solutions, naming Sungrow as well as Huawei, with their commercial storage solutions and kind of battery combined with an integrated inverter product. So I think they will be also coming up with holistic ideas and holistic solutions, probably with an integrated energy management. So that's what I saw. In addition, there beside Attes and Mega Revo.
Good.
Yeah, on Victron's side, you can connect AC coupled as mentioned. You can go up to 180 kVA. You can have multiple 180 kVA system monitoring the energy meters through a PLC unit, third-party PLC. So there's many ways to actually design the system. So Victron will be fit for any application, especially with the HS19 units coming out soon, which is also a high voltage system.
Interesting. So we're looking forward. Sakani?
Yes, this one is directed, I think, to DVET. It says, is there a future on the horizon where the DOEL comes to the conversation or to own up to the fact that they are not leading the industry and we have to resort to privatized control and third-party input to regulate ourselves? It's a two-part question. There's another part. I don't know if I should read that now, or you would like to answer that part, and then I can add on to the other part.
Yeah, I did answer the second part of the question in the text
Oh, okay.
part.
That's
I think just the first part, I think what is really important to understand is that the solar PV installation industry doesn't operate outside of the existing regulatory and standards framework. And I think that's a really important point to emphasize, is that the current feedback mechanisms and the current ways to engage with the Department of Employment and Labor is the same for the solar PV industry as it is for the electrical contracting industry. And it's important to understand that and to understand the role that solar PV plays within the wider electrical contracting industry. And the situation or situation is probably the right word, that necessitated the introduction of the PV Green Card program back in 2015 and 2016 was that there was a vacuum in the standards framework. So there wasn't an adequate installation standard that adequately speaks to the solar PV installation as it forms part of a larger electrical installation. Unfortunately, that situation is still ongoing today. We still don't have a SANS 10142-1-2 or an addendum or whatever form that standard will take to adequately describe and cover the installation standard of a grid interconnected solar PV system. The current standard adequately covers an alternative supply. So if a solar PV system or a UPS system operates in the same way that a generator operates, that it is a true alternate supply that only operates and supplies the load in a loss of grid event, or if it has a changeover that is a break before make changeover connection, where it breaks the connection to the network before making the connection to the generator, that portion of the installation is adequately covered by the installation standard, by SANS 10142-1 and by SANS 60364-7-712. Unfortunately, when the generator operates in parallel to the network or in synchronization with the network, that is where a gray area is developed. And that's really where there's uncertainty around the installation standards. And to an extent, that is what the NRS specification, that equipment specification, NRS 097-2-1, aims to guard against. It's around the specifications of how that inverter interacts with the grid. So I think it's important to understand the role that the solar PV industry plays with the larger electrical contracting industry, and where the solar PV industry places on perhaps the order of priority with the formal public sector structures. I can say that the private sector and the industry driven skills programs and quality assurance mechanisms will be in place and will be around for as long as the public sector and the formal mechanisms aren't in place. And even after that, I do still think there will be a prominent role for private sector initiatives and skills development and training programs to play in the future?
We have two more questions, but I think we have to answer them after the event, because we are coming to the end. And I think we had a very interesting discussion. I hope that the audience enjoyed it as much as myself. I want to thank all of you, the vet, Daniel, to join us, to share your thoughts with us. And yeah, I hope so for all of our alumni. I mean, we will always inform you about new events. And if there are topics, technical topics, you are interested in, you want us to discuss in that format, you can just drop an email to Tsakani to info@solar-training.org and suggest ideas. And so, as I said, you will get a recording, and it will be also available online. And thank you for the time, and I wish you a very nice evening.
Thanks for having us. Thanks a lot. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Antje. Thanks, everyone.